Hello, hello. This is the second time I've given this talk. The first time was at Velocity, and I went into that a bit misinformed and thought that it was a lot of a fancier business to do than it was, and I wore a suit. And wow, that was the wrong choice. So today I look like I climbed out of a dumpster out behind a Hot Topic. And I feel like that's more fitting, more on brand, and it makes me more comfortable, and I hope it makes you more comfortable as well. Rockstars, builders, and janitors, if you want to complain at me online in real time, my Twitter is up there at Goldfuss. I would strongly suggest you don't follow that account because it's a bit of an adventure, but it's there all the same. I would like to start off this talk by asking you 3 questions. You can digest it for a minute. I want to know, over the past 3 months, what have you mainly done for your job, for your company, the thing you get money to do? What have you mainly done? So raise your hand if in the past 3 months you have mainly built new features, tools, systems, code bases, built new things. Raise your hand. Okay. All right, thank you. Now raise your hand if you have mostly hardened, scaled, or made existing things more performant. Okay, different group of hands. Now raise your hands if you have mainly cleaned up, patched, written documentation for already existing systems. Okay, yep, I know you. Well, congratulations, you're all part of the problem. But don't worry, we're gonna get through this together. Speaking of getting it together, I'm Alice. I'm a site reliability engineer, which means I'm a professional worrier with pseudo access. I work at New Relic, and does anyone here not know what New Relic is? Because I would be happy to send your email to one of our sales reps. In fact, they're probably sitting right next to you. Just shake their hands and sign up, you'll be fine. So, moving on. In this talk, we're going to define the roles. What is a rockstar, a builder, and a janitor? We're going to look at the current state of tech, the current ecosystem. What are people up to right now? How do they fit in? And then we're going to discuss a better way of handling these roles and tasks. So let's dive right in. What is a rockstar? So currently in tech, rockstar can mean something bad. It can mean something toxic. A person who is very overinflated, has too much power, and uses that power for bad. It's not exactly what I'm talking about here, although this type of rock star can definitely become that type of rock star if left unchecked. But for the purposes of this talk, a rock star is that person on your team that just, every Monday at stand-up, they come in and they say, look at this cool thing that I read about on Hacker News, and I already rolled it out, and it's awesome, and it's new, and I love it. They're the person with ideas. They're the person that your company is there for, the company that founded the company, the innovators. And rock stars are great. We love them. We need them. They're curious and open-minded. They're always introducing new things, and they're always improving on those new things so they can iterate fast. You come to them and you say, hey, you know that thing you did 2 weeks ago? Well, and they cut you off and go, I did something new already. Forget that. Do this new thing instead. Which is great because we need those ideas to fuel our company. But you can't just only have rock stars because they have some weaknesses. Yep. Since they're only doing new things all the time, they get bored very easily. And because they're always only concerned with pushing out new things, they're not really thinking about the longer consequences, support and maintenance, or how users are going to be impacted. So you come to them and you say, hey, this thing you made is actually like kind of shitty. And they're like, oh, why are you even using that? I made this new thing already. And you're like, but 50,000 people are using it. We need to patch it. And they go, why? It's terrible. Use this new thing. Can't just have rock stars on your team. Next up, we have the builders. You need builders. You need them. They are important. They're the ones that take that spark the rock star gives you and scale it out. They harden it. They make it better. They make your systems long-lasting. They make them reliable. They're the what-ifs. They're the thinkers. They're the Ravenclaws, if you will, of your team. And builders are great. They understand scale. They understand impact. They're good at catching the what-ifs. they're good at thinking in those meetings, all right, but what if that one user that we think doesn't use our product anymore, but they might come back. What happens if they come back and we fall over again? They're catching those little fail-safes that the Rockstar missed. But because they're always thinking in what-ifs, they're your resident doomsayers. Your builders are the people in the meeting going, okay, I know we fixed those 5 bugs, but what if a 6th bug appears and our first monitoring system fails and the second monitoring system that I set up also fails and we don't have a 3rd one? What then? We can't ship. I won't allow it. Just shut it down. Just walk away. This isn't going to work. They have a hard time letting things go. They always want to tweak it. They always make it just perfect. If you have a team that's only builders, you're going to peek your head in and what they're working on is going to be beautiful. And it will never see the outside of that door. It won't go anywhere. So you can't just have builders. Last but not least, we have our janitors. You might think, well, janitor is kind of a negative word. Why not custodian or steward? Well, custodian and steward denotes a level of ownership, and the people doing janitor work don't feel like they own anything at all. They don't have power. They're the people, there's a parade going on, the rock stars at the front, the builders skulking behind them, and the janitors sweeping up the confetti. That's the janitor, and that's why they are janitors. But let me tell you something. Without janitors, your company wouldn't exist anymore. It wouldn't be here because they're the ones keeping it running at night. You just don't know about it. They understand the weaknesses in your system like neither the Rockstar nor Builder ever could because they're the ones always fixing it. But since they have no many resources, they have to know how to fix those things with very little. They can do a lot with very little. And they're able to really iterate well, to always slap on Band-Aids, to always know exactly, okay, that thing is going down. That means these 3 other things are going to fail. We need to slap a Band-Aid on right there to fix it, to cut it off at the pass. They're excellent at that. But since they're always firefighting, they don't have really time to step back and take in the whole picture and think of a better way to do things, which means they're always doing these manual tasks. The janitors are the ones that are going, okay, all right, let's just SSH into the box and change that config and shut off Puppet and we're done. Which, I mean, no one here has ever done. But I hear it happens. And because they're always doing those small manual changes, they often get stuck down in the weeds with the minutia of day-to-day server and system maintenance. And this also makes them very resistant to change, which makes sense. Because every time you change the system, it breaks, and they have to clean it up. I wouldn't want to change things either. So they're the ones sitting in the meeting going, why don't we just let the builder tweak things forever and never ship? That sounds good to me. Let's do that. Those are your janitors. And honestly, who can blame them? So we have this ecosystem we've built up where Rockstars are at the top and then builders and janitors, and Rockstars have far more visibility than the other two. In fact, as I've been talking about them right now, you're probably already thinking of Rockstars on your team and in your company. Like, that comes easy. But it's less easy to think of the builders and the janitors unless you yourself are in that role. However, the amount of thankless work is rather disproportional to the amount of visibility. And we're all just sort of fine with this. It's like a social contract that everyone signed in their sleep without reading. Janitors will get shit on. Fine, do it. That sounds good. Good night. It's kind of like me with pager duty. That's what we've agreed to. And it's terrible. It's awful. But people just sort of sink into these roles. This is what people have agreed to do. They kind of just sit there, and then it's just like, this is my lot in life. It's kind of organic. You might think, well, isn't organic good? The TV tells me organic is good all the time. Alice, don't you live in Portland? Aren't you a hipster now? Organic's cool. Why aren't you down with organic? Well, in this case, I'm on the side of the GMOs. It stands for greater mobility, okay? Because when people get into these organic roles, 2 things happen. They get stuck. Shauna's been doing networking work for 20 years now. She doesn't want to do it anymore. but 20 years ago, that work was really interesting to Shauna. Or there was a void in the company or on her team, and she stepped up to fill it. And now, 20 years later, Shauna doesn't want to do networking work anymore, but Shauna can't get out of it because people are like, networking equipment sounds good, give it to Shauna, I don't want to deal with that, good night. And she doesn't have a way to get out of it because she's the only person doing it, or she's the person expected to do it, and she's kind of dug in this grave that she can't get out of. The other thing that happens is people get tunnel vision. When they're only focused on that one slice of the ecosystem, they kind of build walls up. It becomes their palace. It becomes their kingdom. It's, oh, networking equipment, give it to Shauna. I only care about code, or I only care about the deploying system, and you just build up everything. And as long as garbage doesn't fall into your side, you don't care. You're playing the game where you're just kind of shove it over to your neighbor's end of things. And that's how things get really crappy. That's how we get that thing called technical debt. Because people are only focused on their slice of the pie. Companies have realized this, and they try to combat it in a few ways. But before we get to that, let's talk about the current state of tech. Because, I certainly have a lot of opinions about how people are feeling on their teams and in their companies, but that doesn't mean it's reality. And I was kind of sitting here preparing for this talk and kind of having an existential crisis going, well, what if I'm wrong? Is that possible? Let's take it to Twitter. So I did. And I said, hey, please take this survey. I want to know what you're doing at your jobs. And I asked people questions similar to what I asked you at the beginning of this talk. What kind of work are you doing? Are you happy? What's your title? How do you identify? Do you think things are fair? And some interesting data came out of it. I wanted to dig into that a little bit. I only got 117 responses, which technically isn't statistically significant. But there are some interesting trends in here that I think bears digging into, and I want to do that with you right now. First of all, about 48% of you are currently doing rockstar work. You're currently building new tools, new features, and new systems, and putting them out there, 48%, which is honestly better than I expected. Awesome, 48%. But 55% of you want to be doing that work. Honestly, I expected that to be a lot higher, but that's not bad. 48% of you are making new things, 55% of you want to be making new things. That's not bad. Could be better, but not bad at all. About 20% of you are doing builder work. You're hardening, you're scaling, you're testing and making better, you're doing performance work. Only about 20%. But 35% of you want to be doing that work. Only about 20% of you are doing it, and 35% of you are sitting around and going, man, can we make this better already, please? That's a good sign. People want to be doing that work. Unfortunate that they're not. 32%, bordering on 33%, are doing janitor work. They're the people stuck in that quagmire, updating configs, writing run books for other people's systems because they got paged, and 5 hours later, they finally understand how it works, so now they're going to write it down so the next time they get paged, it won't take as long. That's what 32% are doing. Perhaps unsurprisingly, only about 9.5% of you actually enjoy that and want to be doing it. So this is where we currently are. About 48% doing rockstar work, only 20% doing builder work, and 32% being janitors. And this is where people want to be. 55% doing rockstar work, a whole lot more wanting to do builder work, and a whole lot less wanting to do janitor work. So, okay, interesting. In this survey, I also asked people what their current titles were in their companies, and I kind of had some theories I wanted to prove out. Let's see how it matches up. So 71% of the people doing rockstar work are developers. Well, that makes sense. I hear tell that developers make new things from time to time, so good on you, you're actually doing your job. 58% of the people doing janitor work are ops, which again, not a surprise. We know this story. Developers make new things, ops get paged for it. This is nothing new, this isn't exciting. However, 54% of the people doing builder work are developers, which I never would have predicted. I totally thought that was operations or someone else, but it's developers that are hardening those systems currently. However, 55% of the people that want to be builders are ops, which does make sense. Ops are stuck cleaning up after the parade, and they at least want to be skulking behind the stars. They at least want to be making things better behind the scenes, but they're not able to. So to recap, about 71% of Rockstars are devs, about 55% of builders are devs, and about 58% of janitors are ops, but ops would rather be doing builder work. Okay, makes sense. I also asked about general happiness and how you think work is being distributed fairly or unfairly within your company. So on your teams, you said 26% of you thought that work distribution on your team was unfair, which if you think about it is actually pretty good because 74% of you were happy with it. 74% of you were looking around and saying, yeah, this is fair. My team and I share things pretty equally. I'm not just situated in a corner the whole time, not doing cool things. I feel pretty good about this. But when it came to asking about your companies, almost 50% of you said that work distribution was unfair. So you're sitting there on your teams and you're saying, I'm seeing people nodding, saying, oh man, that team always gets the cool assignments. I want to be doing that work. This is unfair. So there's some unrest. People are a bit titchy. There's some jimmies being rustled. And companies understand this and they want to fix it. And they've tried to approach it a few different ways. One of the ways they've tried to do it is focusing on reliability. So many companies are always pushing out new things, new products, new features. It's all about velocity. So ever so often they say, okay, let's make reliability a first-class citizen as well. Well, the problem is a lot of people think reliability means don't change anything ever. So they come to their meetings and they're like, all right, we're not making new things anymore. We're going to stop that and we're just going to make the things we did make better. We're just going to focus on that and be reliable. And 2 quarters later, the financial department comes by and says, so this was cute, but we're actually a business making money, so we're going to stop that now. And the company goes, okay, reliability over, we're reliable forever, shut it down, make new things now, also you're behind schedule. So we go back to status quo. Another thing companies do is they try to rotate responsibilities across teams. They say, okay, team A is going to make the new thing this time, and next time team B is going to do it, and next time team C is, we're going to rotate that way. But at some point, someone wearing a suit looks at a spreadsheet and says, this team is way better at this type of task, so why aren't they just doing that all the time? And then we go back to the status quo. Hasn't worked. So where do we go from here? What do we do? People are unhappy, they think it's unfair, they're not doing the work they want to do. Devs are doing hardening work, they like being rock stars, ops are stuck down being janitors, they want to be builders. How do we fix this? Well, we turn to the historian of our times, Ursula Le Guin. For those of you who don't know, Ursula Le Guin is a famous science fiction, fantasy, and literary author. She actually lives in Portland, where I live. I went to go see her give a reading one time, and she comes in, and she's this very petite, regal woman. She comes up to the podium, and she opens the book she's going to read from, and she says, I hope this is over quickly because Downton Abbey is on. And I was like, right there, that's all I needed. Go, Ursula, go. She's great. And in 1969, she came out with a book called The Left Hand of Darkness. Some of you may be familiar with this. It focuses sometime in the future about a race of genetically modified humans who, for the majority of their lives, don't have any identifiable sexual characteristics. Except one time per month, they enter a state called Kemmer, where they adapt either male or female sexual characteristics and they mate. But the thing is, no one knows which characteristics they're going to adopt this time around. No physiological habit is established, and the mother of several children may be the father of several more. You don't know which way the dice is going to roll. Which means burden and privilege are shared out pretty equally. Everybody has the same risk to run or choice to make. I mean, think about it. If everyone was sharing the same burdens of paternity and maternity, would society be different when everyone could possibly be bearing those burdens? They work together to lift them up so it's not such a problem. So how could we apply this to our issue that we're currently seeing? Well, we can have everyone do everything. And you might be thinking, what? What? Do you know who I am, little girl with the gothness? My company is huge. We are global. We are specialized. We know what we're doing. There's no way I'm having everyone do everything else. I don't want my devs touching my ops chef code. They don't even know what that is. They thought someone was going to come in and cook them a private meal. And I don't want ops to be touching my devs code because all they do is make fun of Ruby and it hurts my feelings. No, we're not doing it. Everyone is not doing everything. Just go back to DevOps Days Crazy Town. I don't have time for it. Well, that's not what this is. I don't want devs and ops, just going like, hey, servers are cool. I have an AWS account, so it's like we're the same. Not advocating for that. But on each team, there is Rockstar, Builder, and Janitor type work that everyone should have the chance to do. And when we do this, 3 good things come out of it. First of all, we remove the blinders. We were talking about people having that slice of pie, that kingdom that only they know about. Well, all of a sudden, the walls are down, and they own the whole pie. And wow, the other parts of the pie have a lot of mold on it. Now that they know that they're going to be responsible for everything, the consequences of their actions come full around, which means they build better. They build defensively, they code defensively, they make things more modular because they know in the future they're the ones that are going to have to be modulating it. Yes, modulating is a word. They're the ones who are going to be building better, and they know, oh crap, I'm the one that's going to have to be cleaning this up next week. I need to make sure that this is good now. And they ship better things, and they build better systems from the get-go because they know that the consequences are not going to be on someone else, it's going to be on them. And they also foster new skills, which is good for any part of the spectrum, junior to senior. Take a junior engineer. They've been on your team for maybe a year, doing one thing because they organically settled there and Shauna needed help. And you ask them after a year, well, what do you want to do? They don't know. They've been doing one thing. They might not even like it. They might hate tech. They might think all tech is this and they're looking to be a seamstress or something. They only know this. They need the ability to see other parts so they can grow their career better and know what direction they want to take it in. This is also good for seniors and leads. You're growing someone's career. You expect them to know so many things about your architecture that they're sought as an expert. You need to grow them both broadly and deeply. They need to touch different parts of your ecosystem. They need to work in different parts of your architecture so that they can actually be trusted and respected. Because there's not a huge market for someone that only knows one flavor of the Linux kernel, let me tell you. They have to know multiple things about your systems. So get them out there, let them do it. So how do we do this? We rotate. On each team, we give people the ability to do different types of jobs, say once per week. You might think, well, I need longer than a week to make a new thing. Well, okay, fine, we can expand on it. Let's say you have a team of 4 engineers. Split them up. So they do 1 week of janitor work, 1 week of builder work, and 2 weeks of Rockstar work. And they rotate that. And make this match up with your on-call schedule and put everyone on call. That first week of janitor work, that person is also going to be on call for your team's systems, which makes sense because as things are breaking, they're going to be band-aiding them so they don't get paged anymore. And then the next week, they're a builder. They're hardening the systems they got paged on. Empower your engineers to never to get paged for the same thing twice, and they will take care of it because they don't want to get paged the next time. After they've done their tour of duty, give them 2 or more weeks to do Rockstar work. Now they can build things, and they're going to build them better. They're going to build them more defensively because they know that pager is coming around again. If you look at that situation with 2 weeks of Rockstar, 1 week of janitor, 1 week of builder, it kind of looks like this at a percentage of time, which almost looks like the preferred state from the study, with A majority of time spent in Rockstar work, a larger spent in builder work, and less in janitor work. And I know, like 25% time spent in janitor work is a lot different than 9.5%, but you have to start somewhere. And as you do better, more defensive Rockstar work, and you do better, more defensive builder work, you won't have to do as much janitor work. And if you're finding that you need more time in your janitor and your builder work, if you need to dedicate more than one engineer per week on those tasks, then you have technical debt. And you need to address that. You need to take everyone on your team and have them swarm on those issues and clean it up for everyone. And for those of you thinking, well, what about my velocity? What about my vroom vroom machine? I'm here to ship, I'm here to make things. Don't you know how businesses work? I gotta push that stuff out the door, I gotta make it go fast. Things tend to go a bit faster when they're not on fire. And technical debt is that fire. That janitor task that's building up behind you, that's that fire. It'll make you go slow. And how do you prove that to the execs and the muckety-mucks? How do you bring this forward to them? You can't just bring them a spreadsheet with a number on it and say, look, this is technical debt in Arabic form. It's there. It's bad. How do you prove that? Actually, you can. There was a white paper in 2014 called A Simulation Study of Practical Methods for Technical Debt Management and Agile Software Development, just rolls off the tongue. And in those pages, there are many formulas. Here is an adapted one by Gregor Wikstrand. And you can plug in your numbers and you can get an estimate on how faster you would go with that technical debt burned down, and you can put that in front of your executive team. And if that's too abstract, please chew on Telefonica. Telefonica is one of the largest telecommunications and IT companies in Spain. And in 2013, they had a large amount of financial debt. And to combat that, the CIO decided to attack their technical debt. In 2013, they decommissioned over 1,100 applications. And in the following 3 years, they reduced their other systems from 7,000 to 4,200. The CIO also instituted new processes such as using off-the-shelf solutions instead of having engineers build things that already exist, which means their engineers were freed up to do things that actually mattered, that were new and specific to the company's needs. And in that time, they reduced their financial debt by 14 billion euros. They reduced it by working on their technical debt. This is real. This is something that you can talk about internally. So, okay. I might have you interested, I might have you convinced. How do we roll this out? Well, the first thing you do is you give it to your ops team. Your ops team has been down in the guts of your system for years. They've been firefighting, they've been shoveling behind that parade, they know it in and out, and they really haven't had a chance to breathe because they've been firefighting day in and day out. They know how to be a janitor, they have an idea of how to be a builder, and arguably those are the two most difficult roles to get your head around. Hacker News teaches us how to be rock stars every day, but it's more difficult to train people into a janitor and a builder mindset. But ops teams have a head start there, so give them the space to be rock stars. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute. Ops teams have more garbage than anyone. They should be janitors full time. They should be cleaning that crap up. I don't have time to make them be rock stars. This is their problem. I'm only going to say this once. Don't punish your ops team for your dev team's shitty code. Ops doesn't happen in a vacuum. The things that are breaking that they're getting paged on, your developers put there. Turns out jQuery isn't very scalable. And 2 years ago it seemed shiny and now it sucks. And they are fighting those fires silently. They don't have any visibility into their problems, and you put them in that situation. You need to give them the respect and responsibility to clean up their stuff by allowing them to build things better, by giving them the power to do so. So where do you start? You get them all in a room, all of your ops team, and you ask them 3 questions. First of all, what are you worried about? What did we push out? And do you think it's going to explode at any moment? What's the thing that you put out 3 years ago when the company was smaller and only you know about it because no one else is here and it's going to fail at any moment and it keeps you up at night? What has been failing and no one knows about it because you keep patching it with a script you just wake up and run every morning while you read your email? What should we be worried about? What's going to fail over at any second? That's how you get your janitor tasks. What could we do better? What did we maybe push out at 80% done and it has 0 tests and is now an integral part of our infrastructure? What should we harden? What should we scale? What should we rewrite? What should we refactor? That's how you get your builder tasks. What do you want to add? What do you think is cool in infrastructure and reliability? What do you wish you could tell your friends you were working on here? What do you think will make us better? That's how you get your Rockstar tasks. Split them up into tickets, whatever system you use. Assign them to the people that first propose them because they're probably going to have the most ideas. But make sure that those tasks get meted out pretty fairly. Let people pair with them and start that rotation. So if we let ops teams break up to do Rockstar work, to work on new systems instead of constantly dealing with the churn and the overhead of those janitor tasks, won't that cause back pressure on upstream systems? Good. Good. They should be upset. They should feel that pressure. Developers need to know that their actions have consequences. I want them to be able to talk to an operations engineer and say, hey, where are my servers? I need them right now. And that ops person to be like, I'm writing new things this week. I'm a rock star. Talk to our janitors that are scaling. Talk to our builders. It's not on me. Our whole team is no longer dedicated to your servers anymore. We're making new things and building them out better. And yeah, that's going to make the devs really mad. But they need to know that there's a new process in town and it's coming for them next. They need to know that their actions have consequences. And sure, in some companies, developers don't have access to their infrastructure. You might say, oh, they can't be builders, they definitely can't be janitors, they can't clean up all those ops tasks. Well, I assure you, there's plenty to be done at home. I think it's kind of obvious what a rock star and a dev team would look like, but let's go over it anyway. First of all, they can work on a new feature or a tool or a system, but furthermore, they can work on demos and researching. It is incredibly terrifying and empowering for a junior engineer to be told, hey, here's a problem our team is experiencing. Spend the next 2 weeks researching what can be done to fix it and give us a demo of your findings. I mean, they're a smart person. You hired them because you think they're smart, right? So trust them to contribute like a smart person would. Have them contribute new ideas and fresh ideas to your team, and that way they're invested in the outcome. They want to keep working on those systems because they're the ones that originally brought the ideas to your team. Builder tasks for developers are all about testing. Integration testing, unit testing. They should know what their service connects to. Do you provide an API internally and you want to end of life it and you didn't realize that 5 other teams actually really depend on it and never told you? That's something a builder would have to investigate during their work. That's something that your team needs to improve their understanding of. They need to know how their work impacts others, how their services impact others. Work on service level objectives, work on SLAs, understand how your things interact with everyone else's so you can build them better. Janitor tasks on development teams are a lot of bug fixes. All those things your support team have been battling, now you have one person who is dedicated to fixing them for a full week. And since they're a developer, they probably already touched that piece of code in some way. They might have even pushed it out. Now they can go back and make it better and address those user concerns. They're doing refactoring, they're doing code cleanup, they're doing config changes, they're deleting dead parts of code. You know that dead code that has a comment on it that's like, I don't think anything's using this, but I'm scared to find out. That's something your janitor is going to be dealing with. Once again, get all your developers in a room and ask them, what are you worried about? What did we push out too fast because we had a deadline to meet and a roadmap to take care of, and now we think it might be breaking? What system is just trudging along on its last legs and is going to die at any moment? What has been serving a lot of 503s lately, but we don't monitor it, so we decided it's not a problem? Those are your janitor tasks. What can we do better? What needs to be refactored? How's our logging? Do we hit a weird code path and the only thing that prints out is a shrug emoticon because we never expected anyone to hit it and customers have hit it and they're kind of mad? builder tasks. And what do you want to add? Aside from the roadmap, what do you think is cool? What languages interest you? What tooling frameworks? What processes? Or even within the roadmap, if you and your product manager are talking about new features to come up and it's kind of up in the air, ask the developers what they want to work on first. It'll get done faster and it'll be better for it because they're passionate about it. That's how you get your Rockstar tasks. Do the same thing as you do with ops. Divide them up into tickets, start assigning them to people, and start that rotation. And you might be thinking, well, I don't want to give devs anything other than Rockstar work. I don't want them to be builders or janitors. That seems kind of demeaning. First of all, that's crappy. Also, they're already doing that work. It's just not visible. Remember, 54% of people doing that builder work are developers. They're probably just not being recognized for it. And there's certainly a number of developers doing janitor work that have less visibility on them, probably not getting promoted as much for it. You know, fill in the blank there. They're already doing this work, it's just not being recognized and it's not being spread out equally. And now's your chance to do that. So in this talk, we define the roles. The curious, independent, innovative rockstar, the industrious doomsayer builder, and the quiet but powerful janitor, always cleaning up after everyone, always keeping your systems running. We examined the current environment. We knew that people were doing a good amount of rockstar work, not enough builder work, and too much janitor work. And we know that they want to be doing a little more rockstar work, a lot more builder work, and a lot less janitor work. People are unhappy with the current state of things. And we discussed a better way with our good friend, Ursula Le Guin, and the left hand of darkness, and rotating those roles so everyone bears the same risk, burden, and privilege as everyone else. Because hopefully, as you adapt this method, it'll be your future state on your teams. You will have better, more reliable systems, and you will have more well-rounded and invested engineers. Thank you very much.